Hi, it's Bridget. I know it's been a long time since I've posted a video. I have been ill, um, which you can probably tell in my voice. I actually got a voice program on my phone to help me feminize my voice, but between being sick and the medication that they gave me, dropping my voice a couple of octaves, I haven't really had a chance to work with it, but I will let you know. I'll probably do a video on that a little later. I also got an appointment for HRT. Was going to be in April, but yeah, I got on the cancellation list and it's now going to be next week, so that's pretty exciting. I think I said before that I would do a video on my marriage, so that's what this one's going to be about. It's been a bit of a hard topic working my way up to this. I was married for 13 years. Was with my wife for probably another couple years before that. When we met, I was in a pretty bad place. I was depressed. I had no self-worth. And, if I'm honest, that's what I was looking for in a partner, somebody to reinforce that. And my wife did. I have to take responsibility that that is what I was looking for, and I allowed myself to be in an abusive marriage, and I reinforced her behavior. I enabled a lot of the things in the marriage. That's not to say that what happened was right in any way. It started out emotionally abusive, even before we were married. Between her anger, her isolating me from my friends and family, and the way that she treated me. I was an idiot who couldn't do anything right. And, I was lucky to have her, because who else was going to put up with me? And I not only accepted that, I had been looking for that, and so it just reinforced how I already felt about myself. At one point, it did become a physically abusive relationship. And that just fed my feelings of worthlessness. I mean, what kind of a person allows themselves to be beat up by somebody who really was physically weaker than me? But, I put up with it. So that was the dynamic of our relationship for a number of years. But in the meantime, my identity was always ready to bubble out, and one point, probably about 6 years into our marriage, which would also be 6 or 7 years ago, I was in counseling, and I came out to my counselor as a cross-dresser, because at the time that's all I could accept myself as. I could never quite go to that next step and admit that I was a woman. Well, course, at one point I told my wife, and her response to it was that it was disgusting and repulsive and the next thing to pedophilia. And that devastated me at the time. She wouldn't accept it, and because of the way that our relationship worked, I basically tried to bury it. Every year or two it would come bubbling back to the surface. And because it never really got explored, just became a bit of a crisis for me to deal with in counseling. It never got beyond me believing I was a cross-dresser for a number of years. Well, as I told you last year, I finally was able to admit that I was a woman, that I was Bridget. And about a month after I was able to do that to the counselor that I'm seeing now, came out to my wife. As usual, it was almost always in the middle of an argument. Because these issues changed the way that I acted, because in accepting myself, I changed my behavior. I was starting to love myself, and of course that led to conflict. And so in the middle of this argument, I told my wife, and once again, it was put that back away. Put it back in the closet. You can't do that. And this time it was a little different because she decided that maybe it would be alright if I was a cross-dresser on the weekends before she got out of bed. Mind you, I couldn't actually get anything to cross-dress with because she controlled all of our finances, and she didn't want to have anything to do with that. So it was kind of like, well, maybe we'll talk about that later, but don't bring it up. When I'm ready, I'll deal with it. And so, of course, nothing ever came of that. But now I was Bridget, so I wasn't going back in the closet. In my mind, I was changing and growing and becoming stronger. So, at the beginning of December of 2014, December 4th, I decided that I couldn't be in this marriage anymore. It wasn't going to work. Which was difficult to get to because my wife had been diagnosed with MS. She wasn't working. I was doing pretty much everything for her. Making meals, looking after the house, doing all the errands. But I knew that staying was killing me. And so I had to get out. And I tried to organize it so that when I left, her family was there and able to take care of her if she'd let them. And, you know, I wasn't going to run away from my responsibilities financially, but I knew that I had to leave. And she threatened to kill herself the night that I was going to leave. It maybe was flippant, it maybe wasn't at the time. but I took it seriously enough that I called the police, and they took her to the hospital for an assessment. And while she was at the hospital for an assessment, I gathered up the rest of my things that I could, and I went to stay with my family. And I avoided contact with her because the one thing that she was still able to do was turn my thought process around. That it was my fault, that she deserved another chance, that she deserved better. And I knew this time that I couldn't come back. So I ignored my phone. I focused on being away from her. And she didn't accept the help from her family. And after nobody had heard from her for a week, I came back to see if she was around, because she had said she would leave. And the lights were off in the house, but because I was by myself, I wasn't going to take the chance that she was home. So I waited till the next night, and I came back with my parents, and I found her. She had killed herself. I still don't have the official cause of death yet. The coroner said that could take quite a while. But it wasn't supposed to be this way. I had done everything that I could think of to avoid this outcome. But in the end, it wasn't my ability to avoid it. I can mostly sleep easy that I did everything right. It's cold comfort because obviously the outcome is what mattered, but at the end of the day, it was her choice. And that's all I can accept it as. It's like her family says. She was all about control. And she had lost control over everything in her life except me. And when she lost control over me as well, she just didn't want to keep going. And in some ways, as bad as it sounds, it's been a bit of a relief and freeing. It's never what you want, but it has allowed me to have a clean start as Bridget. And I guess I should be thankful for that. I don't know if I can ever say that thankful is a word that I'll use. So, I guess approaching 15 minutes, and that's pretty much all there is to say on my marriage at this point. I will try and be a little more diligent on getting some things up, especially now that some things are happening. And, I'll keep you guys up to date on how hormone replacement works and everything else that's going on. So we'll Talk to you soon.